The first time I saw my boyfriend, he was pretending not to know me. His gaze met mine a few times, lingering, before he dropped his eyes to the unfamiliar red carpet. I woke up shaking, scared, uncomfortable, like I had lost the most important part of myself, as if I was forgetting the most important piece of my life. I was 22, living in a small apartment, where the walls were so thin I could hear my neighbor singing in the shower, and the rain was loud enough to sound like fingers. The dream stayed with me long enough for me to write it down. It became the first page of a dream journal I would eventually abandon. 4 years later, I'm living in another part of the country, and I see him again. I recognized him immediately, like recognizing someone I had known my whole life. It was at a small birthday party, where someone spilt red wine on the dining cloth. He had the same neatly trimmed hairstyle, the same lingering brown eyes, and it was like in all those years, his style of clothing had not changed at all. His faded black jeans and loose hoodie were as familiar as the suit imprinted on my mind. I shrugged it off as a coincidence days later, when he recognized me at the store and asked me out on a date. Human brains were good at stitching patterns together after the fact. I never mentioned it to him. Eventually, the feeling faded enough for me to ignore it. Falling in love with him was easy, and loving him was easier. He made everything make sense. He made it easy to listen to him talk about his day, as if he wasn't talking about himself. He made sharing the kitchen feel romantic. He made me never want to let him go for his morning jog. Being away from him reminded me of the cold, lonely feeling from that night. On a rainy Thursday night, we lay half awake in bed, both pretending we didn't have work the next morning, talking about dreams the way people do when they don't want to sleep yet. "I had a dream about you know," he said calmly, facing the ceiling with his eyes closed. "Strange too." He looked down at me. It must have been something with my face that made him freeze. "What?" he asked. "Tell me about it," I said, listening to him tell me his dream, or rather his perspective of a dream we shared, made me sit up, ignoring the cold when the blanket fell to pile around my hips. He didn't notice it either, too absorbed in the dream, the strange people, the strange room with the familiar red carpet, his distant, cold face across the room, pretending not to know me, the smell of fresh lavender and dirt, and the cold, lonely feeling that came with it. "In your dream, my hair was long." I said it before he had the chance to, stopping him from going on. "Yeah, how'd you know that?" I told him everything. The yellow lights, the kitchen counter, the tall glass in my hands. At the time, we were living on opposite sides of the country. Yet 5 years apart, we found ourselves in the same apartment, with the same music, same crowded room. In both versions, longing for each other. For weeks afterward, we tried explaining it away. Coincidence, false memory, shared influence. But there was one thing neither of us could explain. The apartment. Neither of us had ever seen it before. Not in real life. Not until 8 months later. We were invited to a New Year's party by one of his co-workers. The second we walked in, I grabbed his arm so hard I heard him wince. Warm yellow lights, tiny kitchen to the left, a living room with a red carpet, music humming low through crowded rooms, and near the counter, a tower of champagne glasses. I couldn't breathe for a second, because I knew exactly what was about to happen. Across the room, someone stepped between us, then another, people laughing, talking, moving, blocking my path without noticing. And there he was on the other side of the apartment, staring directly at me with the same terrified expression from the dream. Then his nose started bleeding, dripping over his lips. This was new at least. I walked toward him slowly through the crowd. The music sounded far away. When I reached him, he leaned towards me and smiled. I could not help but smile back. Then the lights went out, and someone whispered directly beside my ear, "Wake up." Just for a second. The entire apartment blacked out at once. People screamed. Someone laughed nervously. And in that single second of darkness, I remembered exactly where my dream ended. He was walking away, leaving me staring at his back. I remember thinking that if he walked away from me again, something irreversible would happen. And sometimes, late at night, when he's asleep beside me, I wonder if one of us is still dreaming, or if we already woke up in the wrong timeline. The next morning, I checked my old dream journal for the first time in years. The final line on the page had changed. Don't let him leave the apartment alone.